Join me as I dive into an alternate history and challenge myself to imagine what our world would look like if World War I never happened. Imagine a world where the 20th century unfolded without the devastating impact of World War I. No trenches, no mustard gas, no millions of lives lost. It's a fascinating concept that challenges our understanding of how global politics and societies evolved over the past century. Prior to World War I, the world was already a complex web of alliances and tensions. The Triple Entente, consisting of France, Britain, and Russia, was pitted against the Triple Alliance of Germany, Austria, Hungary, and Italy. Imperialism was at its peak, with European powers scrambling for resources and territories around the globe. The Balkans, a region of southeastern Europe, was a hotbed of nationalist tensions, and the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand was the spark that set off the war. But what if that spark never ignited? One could argue that the buildup of tensions would have eventually led to a conflict, albeit with different circumstances and timing. Perhaps Germany, under the leadership of Kaiser Wilhelm II, would have continued its aggressive expansion, leading to a war with France and Britain. Or maybe Austria-Hungary would have attempted to crush the growing nationalist movements in the Balkans, sparking a conflict with Russia. Alternatively, the complex system of alliances might have held, maintaining a fragile peace and avoiding the devastating war that was to come. The absence of World War I would have significant implications for the world stage. Without the crippling debt and loss of life, Germany might have continued its rise as a dominant economic power, potentially altering the course of European history. The United States, which entered the war in 1917, might have maintained its isolationist stance, avoiding involvement in global conflicts. The Russian Revolution, which was in part sparked by Russia's disastrous performance in the war, might not have occurred, or would have had a very different outcome. In this alternate history, colonial empires might have persisted, with European powers continuing to divvy up the world's resources and shape the fates of non-European nations. The cultural landscape would have looked vastly different, with the lost generation of artists, writers, and musicians who died in the war still contributing to the vibrant cultural scene of the 1920s. The rise of fascism, which was in part a response to the perceived weakness of liberal democracies after the war, might have been avoided or significantly delayed. One of the most compelling outcomes of this alternate history is the potential avoidance of World War II. Without the Treaty of Versailles, which imposed harsh penalties on Germany and contributed to its economic collapse, the rise of the Nazi Party might have been avoided or significantly delayed. The European theater of World War II, which was largely a response to German aggression, might have been avoided, and the world might have been spared the horrors of the Holocaust. The Cold War, which was in part a response to the perceived threat of Soviet communism, might have played out very differently, or not have occurred at all. In summary, a world without World War I would be a world that is vastly different from our own. The absence of the war would have significant implications for global politics, economies, and cultures. It's a fascinating thought experiment that challenges our assumptions about the course of history and encourages us to think about the what-ifs of the past.